Rebirth of the Strongest, Empress, Chapter 1. Chapter 1, Crushing the Heart on Lingmune. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. Swoosh. A cold light appeared all of a sudden along with the sound of bones and flesh being chopped apart. Blood. Bright red blood was splashed across the white snow. Behind the splash of blood stood a gorgeous woman, holding a sharp sword in hand. She stared coldly at the enemies that she slaughtered. No emotion could be sensed from her pale and calm eyes. The woman was in a long and thin layered dress in winter. Her pure white dress had been dyed a crimson color by the endless blood. Beside her feet, nearly 100 corpses stacked on top of the white snow. The blood that flowed out of the corpses had also dyed the snow around her red. However, this was not the end yet. The woman raised her eyes slightly. On her pale but beautiful face, a pair of deep eyes took a glimpse towards the tens of thousands of people gathered in a circle hundreds of miles away, with everyone there staring at her in a greedy way. Scanning through the faces one by one, the woman suddenly raised her lips to an angle, displaying her evilness. She raised her hand and used one of the fingers to wipe off a drop of warm blood sliding down the corner of her lips. The pale lips were covered by a trace of redness, bright but sinister. 79 people. Who would be the next one? Qingtang had never thought that one day she would become the enemy of the rest of the world and be attacked by tens of thousands of people on Lingmune Cliff. All these could be credited to the heart of the demon god located in her chest. With anomalies in the sky, the demon god was born. His birth signaled the end of the sky and the death of the earth. Qingtang was not the demon god. She had no idea why the heart which belonged to the demon god would appear in her body. However, all of these did not matter anymore. The people in front of her all came for the heart of the demon god, which would grant them the unimaginable power, one that seemed able to reverse the sky. No one cared whether Qingtang would be alive or dead. In the eyes of these people, she was just the container of the heart of the demon god. How ridiculous this was. Qingtang straightened her body slightly. Her bare feet stepped on top of the soft snow, allowing the blood in the snow to soak her feet. She tilted her head and raised her sword all of a sudden. The tip of the sword, with a drop of blood, was pointed towards a well-dressed woman standing at the center of the crowd. You. Don't bother to send these useless people up anymore. If you want the heart of the demon god, you have to take it by yourself. Qingtang was laughing, but deep in her eyes, there were not any traces of a smile. Back then, Yu was also the genius girl of the Yi family. Just because Qingtang's spirit root was of the best quality, which was extremely rare, Yu ripped apart Qingtang's stomach with her own hands to dig out the spirit root for her own use. It had been 300 years since that day. You took Qingtang's spirit root and stole the life that once belonged to Qingtang. She thus became the well-known genius. Now, she had already become the great Empress Paragon. However, Qingtang faced countless obstacles and nearly died many times in her life without her spirit root. It took her immense effort to reach the Paragon level. However, she was trapped on top of the Lingmune mountain by Yu for the heart of the demon god. Yu frowned as her name was called by Qingtang. Her eyes were full of disdain. To her, Qingtang was just an ant struggling for survival, one who did not even qualify for Yu to kill using her own hands. Don't let her escape. You must dig out the heart of the demon god entirely for me. Yu commanded to the bodyguard beside her. Everyone surrounding the Lingmune cliff immediately crowded around Qingtang. A besiege by 10,000 people marked the absolute failure of Qingtang, even if she had some superpowers. Behind her was the cliff, that one could not even see the end of it. In front of her was the besieged by 10,000 people. However, Qingtang's face showed no trace of fear or awe. For this life of hers, her father and second uncle were murdered. Senior brother Yun sacrificed himself to save her. Her master's life was shortened just to protect her. Qingtang closed her eyes slowly. Looking back through her life, she recalled countless regrets. People who loved her had already passed away. Now with her enemy in front of her, she would not allow Yu to get what she wanted, even if Qingtang had to destroy the heart of the demon god herself. The moment everyone dashed towards Qingtang, she raised her hand suddenly and stabbed her own chest using her arched fingers. She crushed the heart of the demon god abruptly, the heart that everyone was longing for. Boom! The instant Qingtang crushed the heart, a loud explosion sounded from the Lingying cliff. The heart of the demon god was destroyed. Streaks of aura were rushing between the sky and the earth. Lingying cliff was surrounded by storm wind. The earth trembled and the mountains swayed. At the same time, huge cracks suddenly appeared on the enormous cliff. Yu and her fellow people did not bother with anything besides escaping from the path where they came from hurriedly. When the wind howled, the earth trembled and the mountains swayed. Qingtang, lying in a pool of blood, fell into the endless chasm along with a huge cracked stone. However, at that instant, a golden light suddenly came from the sky and dashed towards the falling Qingtang. Time seemed to stop in that second. The huge falling stone was suspended in the mid-air, and a shadow landed on that huge stone. It was a man, with astonishing beauty. The white clothes he wore were swinging in the storm wind. He just stood beside the body of Qingtang quietly, staring at the wound on her chest that was ripped apart by herself. He could feel a trace of a familiar aura, disappearing gradually from the wound. Found it. His pleasant and deep voice was covered by the wind. The man slowly squatted down and touched the bloody wound gently using his long and elegant fingers. Wisps of aura were emerging continuously from Qingtang's wound and slowly into the man's palm, forming a translucent heart. Just as the heart was about to condense into a solid form, the aura suddenly dispersed. The translucent heart dispersed into particles, scattered around the body of Qingtang, and disappeared. A trace of blackish green sparkled in the man's deep eyes. I see. The man's finger pointed at the area between Qingtang's brows the next moment. A streak of golden light diffused into the area softly,